Hello and welcome. In last week's video, I left you off with the catastrophic situation where I broke my leg and had to drive myself to the emergency room in Corner Brook, Newfoundland. And yeah, this wasn't the outcome of my trip to Newfoundland that I had planned, as you can imagine. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about really what happened and then how did things go from there. So let's get started. So first of all, on that November 4th in Newfoundland, when I broke my leg, it was a normal day until about midday in Corner Brook or in the Corner Brook area. And then a big storm started moving in. And I had specifically stayed in Corner Brook just based on the weather forecast. Going to either side of the island would have been, I would have been exposed to much more wind, weather, and severe weather conditions, so to speak. At least that was the idea. What I did not expect and what happened actually was that the rain that was supposed to come to Corner Brook turned into snow. And it turned into snow quickly, and it was heavy, wet snow. Look at this weather. Snow. Oh no. I was at a campsite, but the weather conditions are actually worse than expected. So I am moving back to inside Corner Brook, just for the ease of mind. It's not as glorious, but well, these weather conditions are not fun, and I'm driving very slow, so it will be all good. So where I was, I decided, okay, I need to relocate somewhere just in preparation, and I started driving. I went onto the Trans-Canada Highway a little bit, and well, the snow was coming down hard. It was really bad. And I saw the first trucks, the semis and other vehicles sliding and having difficulties. So I got off the highway, turned around, drove back towards Corner Brook, and then going up a hill, it was pretty much almost a no-go situation. So I was able to weave through. My truck has 4x4 drive, and so I had no problems going up the hill and bypassing the semis and other vehicles that got stuck. Followed a few other vehicles, and then decided to take the next exit off the highway, found a place where I could park and decided to stay there for the night. I set up camp in a certain way that I lifted the roof, and I made food for Shelby inside the camper, and she had her dinner. And then it was time to take her for a walk. So went outside, walked Shelby. She did a couple of snow angels in the snow. She was totally excited. It got darker and darker, so I went back into the camper for a few minutes and then decided to go back outside to relocate the truck because I wasn't parked very level and it was an empty parking lot. So I had parked at the edge, close to where bushes and what I thought grass would be. So I opened the camper door, I jumped out, which is like a 2.5, maybe 3 feet jump, usually not very difficult. I do it all the time. And well, I hit a hidden rock in the snow with my left leg, fell in, it hurt really bad. I rolled, fell into the snow, and well, the damage was done. I was on the ground, I was in heavy pain. I tried to get up and I just couldn't put any weight at all on my left leg. It was really bad. I could tell the way how my left foot stood a little bit, that it's like, yeah, this is not looking good. So I got myself back up somehow. I sat down on the curb. From there, I moved myself back into the camper. The camper door was open, and I was able to sit in the doorwell. So there's like a step to get into the camper. I sat down there. I have an outside step, so I was able to sit down, use my right leg to push myself back into the camper. And then, pretty much hobbled through the camper to get everything ready because I knew it's like, okay, I need to go to an emergency room and get this looked at. Hopefully it's just a sprained ankle, but my biggest concern in the end came really through that this was a fracture, not just one, a total of 3 fractures on the tibia, fibula, and another piece on the tibia. So not fun. Got the camper drive ready. I lowered the roof. I got outside, I hobbled around the truck. I was lucky that I just had walked Shelby. Yeah, so fortunately I had just walked Shelby, so at least from that perspective, things were okay. So as mentioned, I got everything packed up, I got into the truck, and then I looked up
the next ER. And I mean, Corner Brook is not such a big city. I think it's like 30,000, 35,000 people. There were 2 ERs listed, but I think in the end it was the same one, just whatever. Anyway, my first challenge was that Google wanted to route me back on the Trans-Canada Highway and drive 2 or 3 miles on the Trans-Canada Highway to take the next exit. And with these weather conditions, I did not want to risk getting onto the highway and then stuck in some sort of traffic jam or bad accident there. So that was just not an option. So I tried to drive into the city, into Corner Brook, and was hoping that Google would reroute finally, and it took a while. But yeah, it was not pretty. So fortunately, my right leg was fine. So only the left leg was injured, so I had no problems driving. And then I got to the ER. So when I got to the hospital and I tried to look for parking, it was very challenging. I couldn't park in front. Naturally, that's for people dropping off. And with snow and storm, I expected more stuff to happen. So I drove around, and there was already a big front loader pushing all the snow in the parking lot into corners. So it was about 6:30, 6:45-ish in the evening, or 7-ish. And the parking lot was almost empty, so the front loader had a lot of room and space to really move the snow around. And I waited for a moment to see where he had some stuff freed up, and that's where I parked. Then the next challenge was getting from where I parked to the emergency room. So we're looking at about 200 yards, 300 yards, crossing the parking lot and getting to the entrance to the emergency room. I was able to hobble around the truck, but going across the parking lot in the partially deep snow, that was not a good option. I remember that I had a large, long truck for a pickup truck, a snow brush and ice scraper. I was able to pull that out, and that gave me like a makeshift cane. And so what I did was pretty much hopping on one leg towards the emergency room, stopping here and there. If there was a car, I held on to the car for a second and so on. So I made it. When I got into the building itself, there was a nurse that was just leaving. And she saw me hobbling and asked if I needed help. She helped me to get a wheelchair and then wheeled me to the first waiting area where a second nurse then came and took me, I want to say, on paper so that I was on the list. Waited in the first waiting room for a few minutes, and they called me in, and the nurse came out and actually rolled me into the office with a back door. And so they took all my information, and I explained what happened. And so then I was in the inside waiting room where quite a few other people were waiting. And that was really the situation. I expected a longer wait time. I'm not sure how it's being prioritized there. And yeah, it was quite interesting. So I took a picture of my big, fat, swollen foot and was just in pain, tried to not move at all. And yeah, it was bad. I was suffering. I was listening to the other people's conversation. The one guy was there for 8 hours, and it's like, oh my gosh, don't let me sit here for 8 hours with a broken leg or something. Fortunately, my waiting time was about an hour before they came and took me into the back to evaluate my situation. So the nurse and the doctor looked at everything and then ordered x-rays right away. I was rolled to the radiology department. They took x-rays, they rolled me back. And then within the next 20, 25 minutes, the nurse came and said, "It's bad news. You have a broken leg." I was not devastated. I was like down for a moment, and it was difficult. I mean, besides the pain, just a lot of things were just like coming crashing down on me. And it has been a dream of mine to go to Newfoundland or back to Newfoundland since 1990. That was the last time I was in Newfoundland. I was there the first time in 1988, again in 1990, and since then it has been on my to go back bucket list. Newfoundland is just a place that is an island that has a place in my heart. And that dream was coming crushing down on me. So I'm not the guy that gets depressed easily. And I forced myself to shake it off. So the doctor came and explained what they were going to do next. And the nurses came and rolled me into a different room and got everything ready to put a splint on and realign the foot with the leg. And so the doctor came and said, all right, I recommend we'll give you fentanyl to cover the pain, because when I move your foot back into position, it will hurt. It will hurt a lot. He looked at me and I was like, for a moment, okay, fentanyl, that's the stuff that the government talks about, and it's all that the bad drugs coming into the country. So he looked at me and it's like, he could probably read my mind in that moment. So, and he said, no, we have these things dialed in. You get a small dose, you will be pain-free for about 15 minutes. And it's absolutely no problem. We do this all the time. I trusted the guy in that moment. Did I have a choice? So they administered the fentanyl, and within like 2 minutes, I was like, whoa, now I know what all that hype is about. So I know it's a bad drug out there, but for medical reasons, it's like, I can understand why fentanyl is, it is a powerful drug, and I was feeling it firsthand. He checked if I was feeling anything, and then the doctor pretty much realigned the foot and put it all back together while I was sitting there smiling, didn't feel a thing. They patched me up with the splint and bandages. They gave me one painkiller for the night. I think it's Oxy or whatever. And then pretty much released me. One of the nurses rolled me out to my truck in a wheelchair and helped me to get into the truck. And he said, just move the truck into a corner, park here, don't drive anywhere, just sleep in the parking lot. And tomorrow in the morning, they will send the x-rays and everything to the normal surgeon, and they will look at it and will call you in the morning, midday, to let you know what the situation is. So I got behind the wheel. I moved the truck out of the way to an area where I was able to park in a way that nobody could block my entrance to the camper, because now I needed space. I was not like easy peasy to go and squeeze myself through the door somewhere. Parked, stayed for the night. The next morning, I just started working from that parking lot, waiting for the phone call. The phone call came in at around 10 o'clock, and they said we need to send this to the orthopedic surgeon for additional review, but it might not require surgery. I'm not exactly sure. So it's like, all right, mixed message. What do I do? I decided to stay until I hear back from the orthopedic surgeon. So I left the hospital. There was nothing else I could do there. Drove back to a place where I had actually parked the day before and set up camp, worked my day job, and just pretty much let the day go by. I went back to another site where I had camped previously, stayed overnight, and then the following day, I got another phone call from the orthopedic surgeon, and the news was bad. They said it requires surgery, and well, they could take me in for surgery the following Friday. Well, I called my health insurance in the US and trying to figure out, okay, I know I'm covered for emergency. So the emergency room, I'm not worried about, that's covered. But what about the surgery? It's like, if I have to go home, this starts healing and it's not set properly. So that was my big concern. And that's what I was trying to convince the health insurance. And they were saying, no, the moment you get discharged from the hospital, the emergency is over and we're not paying for anything else. You can appeal this decision, but that's the situation. So I made the difficult decision. So this was Wednesday and Thursday, midday Thursday. Must have been November 6th, probably. I made the decision to go back home. And originally I had planned to go back home or to drive out west through Labrador again, because I wanted to explore Labrador more on the way back. I was, I don't want to say fast rushing towards the coast when I got into Labrador, but I wanted to take additional time on the way back to explore just a little more. And that's the short ferry between Newfoundland and that little stretch of Quebec/Labrador, which would have been much nicer for Shelby. So now it's like that adds 1.5, 2 days to the drive time, and that is just not something I can do. So I booked myself onto the ferry from Port aux Basques to North Sydney in Nova Scotia. I booked a cabin, and that allowed me to take Shelby from the truck into the cabin inside. And the first room for my truck on the ferry was on Saturday. So not much I could do. I filled up the time with driving around in Corner Brook, exploring just a little bit. And I went to a pharmacy or drugstore and bought a knee scooter. Fortunately, they had one there. I bought a cane and I bought a walker. So it's like somehow something of one of these things will help me to get around. I was able to get groceries. I was able to fill up with gas and diesel and do the normal things. The knee scooter was really the big helper. The walker I probably should have never bought, but I used it a few times. The cane came in handy later on here in San Diego. After the cast was taken off and I was in an air boot, but air walker. Friday night, I drove towards Port aux Basques and camped at a beautiful site at the beach, just outside of Port aux Basques. And then Saturday morning came, I drove to the ferry. When I checked in, I asked, hey, could you give me a cabin close to the elevator? I have a broken leg and I'm not very mobile. And she said, you know what? I think we can do even better. They ordered the wheelchair service for me, which I didn't know existed, but it was a godsend thing. So that was taken care of. I was waiting for the ferry, and then they called the different vehicles. Somebody came by to verify, yes, I need a wheelchair. Now it's my time to go. They guided me on the ferry, and the truck, or there was a disabled parking right next to the elevator. And there was a person waiting with a wheelchair. So I got everything out. I took Shelby out, had her on the leash, sat in the wheelchair, and they drove me up to the floor where my cabin was. Well, that was a problem because the wheelchair didn't fit into that cabin. So the person said, you know what, just wait a minute, let me talk to the purser. I think we can get you into one of those extra cabins for people with disability. And they upgraded me to one of those cabins. So I really appreciate the people that worked on the ferry. It made such a big difference. When I was on the other side a few days later, I sent an email to the ferry company and expressed my heartfelt feelings and thankfulness for the service that they provided. So I had a large cabin. I was able to take a shower. So, and since this was a cabin for people with disabilities, there were railings I could hold on to and handrails, and it was good. I had at least a good transfer over. It was about 8 hours from Port aux Basques to North Sydney. When I arrived in North Sydney, it is just dark, raining, just crazy weather out there. And I went and decided to just drive a little out of North Sydney and get as many miles behind me as possible. I had a few campsites marked on iOverlander and found a nice one that actually worked out great for me, where I could stay the night, and then early the next morning I carried on. So when I had made the decision to leave and to go home, I punched the directions to home into Google Maps, and it was roughly 4,500 miles. And well, that's a long drive. And I still work my day job, so it's like it takes a little bit to push me down. So a broken leg will not stop me. And so I drove on the weekends. I worked my day job since I was in Atlantic time zone. That gave me an advantage. I could drive an hour, 2 hours before work, work my normal 8-hour time frame based on, let's say, Central Time, and then drive again an hour or 2 hours in the evening, working my way westbound. So about 4,500 miles home, it's a long way. And I had to stop in Colorado for a repair at Rossmonster. So that was my time, and I need to figure out when can I be at Rossmonster so that they can get me in. They knew I was coming. They knew I had a broken leg. And they made it happen. So once I knew, it's like, okay, I can be there the following Monday, they got me in. So I drove home. Google routed me into Maine, which I had not anticipated originally. I was planning to go through Quebec, Ontario, and then cut back into northern Michigan to avoid all the tall highways and that stuff. Well, it routed me into Maine, and that means I had to go through Maine, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, and I'm probably missing a state here along the way, but it routed me through all those states that have tolls, and that was painful for my wallet. When you drive 4,500 miles on highways here and there, there's a lot of bumps in the road, a lot of potholes, and every freaking pothole sent a shockwave through my leg. It was difficult sitting and doing things. I had to get the scooter out for everything, so it was very cumbersome. I was still able to climb into my bed, so up the ladder into my bed and sleep in the bed above the driver's cab. So, and I managed to get down without ever landing on my broken leg. I don't know how I did it. It was crazy. I got to Rossmonster. They repaired the two things that I had, and I was back on the road. And it was a long day. So I left Rossmonster at about 2:00 on that Monday afternoon. And I will put the date in here so that you can just follow along a little bit. I drove long ways from Colorado that night. I drove all the way to Ridgefield in Utah, where I camped at a Walmart and slept for 4 or 5 hours, got up again and drove all the way home. So it was one of the fastest drives, considering I'm driving a heavy vehicle that you don't want to drive with 90 miles per hour or something. With a broken leg. So I'd made it home. I had already made an appointment with my primary care physician. So the following day when I got home, I had my appointment there. They did x-rays. They immediately transferred or referred me to an orthopedic surgeon. I'm going to Scripps here in San Diego. If you're familiar with it, it's a large hospital chain, lots of doctors and everything. So I was able to see the orthopedic surgeon the next day. And he did not mess around. So he said, okay, so this was Wednesday. On Saturday morning, I had surgery. And 2.5 hour surgery. They patched me all up. There's a lot of titanium now in my leg. And recovery started. My friends here, that really shook me hard in that moment. So my friends here really took care of me, and I really appreciate their help. So you can see I'm a little emotional. Anyway, my friends took care of me, and I was home. I was able to work my job. And the healing started. After 2 weeks, I went back to the doctor and everything looked good. They put me from the splint after the surgery into a cast. And that was 4 weeks going into January. So January 6th is when the cast came off, and they put me into a boot, an airwalker boot, whatever you want to call it. That was another 4 weeks walking in that thing. And that's where I needed the cane initially because I could barely walk. It took me about 8 or 9 days to walk without the cane. So I got signed up for PT, physical therapy, and that's pretty much what I'm doing for the last 2 weeks, PT. My foot is still swollen. So from the fracture on November 4th, from the surgery, November 22nd, my foot is still swollen. I barely fit into my sneakers. And so that also prevents me from proper walking. So when you walk and your foot rolls and all that stuff, I cannot walk properly. It's not necessarily painful. It's just difficult, uncomfortable, and I hate it. I have to go back. I will not go back this year. I will not go back next year probably, but I will go back to Newfoundland. And I will go back through Labrador. So Labrador was really the highlight of this trip. And I will have to go back. And I also have to say the people in Canada, in general, Canadians are super friendly. I really appreciate everyone I was able to talk to, and they treated me with respect. Labrador, the people were great. The people in Newfoundland, really thank you for everyone I interacted with. As an example, in the emergency room, when we talked and I explained what I was doing there and all that stuff, I said, I have my dog in my truck, and fortunately she's comfy, the heater is running, and so she has water, it's all good. She said, well, we can get her inside. I said, well, this is an emergency room, the hospital. Oh, we do this all the time. Just give me your key and we'll get Shelby in here. And it's like the nurses were like so good. The same with the doctor. We talked a little bit. And ferry company, I mentioned that before. I am eternally grateful. You guys have a place in my heart, and I will come back to Newfoundland and explore the island and finish out what I started. It took 36 years to come back to Newfoundland. It will not take me another 36 years. Well, that's the story with my leg. Anyway, long talk, long video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you subscribe to my channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so as well. And then I would say I'll see you next time in my next video. Take care. Bye-bye.